Good evening, friends. Today is January 10th, and you are back on the Akulmach space and business shows, science and business shows. We actually cover a lot of business information which is readily available for you to make certain vital decisions. So, in order to basically have a dialogue with you, if you have any ideas, any suggestions, feel free to use the live chat function and I will take your name and respond to you immediately. All right, so let's begin our discussion. And today, which is Tuesday, what is so important in the area of business which is happening, which we must understand and also draw inspirations from. So let's go to item number one. Well, the first item on our list is the India's bullet train. So we know that the bullet train was made popular because of the Japanese resolve, and Japan is as a society is having a very limited space to live in their own country, because most of the Japan is consists of forest areas and mountain, very difficult terrain to live on, and there are only few plains in between the mountains where people can live. And therefore, if they have to live in the Tokyo area, then not many people can fit into that area, and that was important for Japanese to basically provide high speed transport. And as a result, people started using these bullet trains, which was introduced in the 60s. And today, the Japan has created an example that their citizens can stay far off from the main Tokyo area and travel at very high speed using these bullet trains and come to the work. So they don't have to basically come and occupy the Tokyo area in order to find a suitable job for themselves. So this was the theory behind it. And similarly, India is also working on a bullet train plan. And couple of years back, it actually took a lot of pace, but then it slowed down, primarily because of the land acquisition issue. So finally, the government of India has overcome the land acquisition issues, which were delaying the bulletin project, the India's first bulletin project between the financial capital of India, which is Mumbai, and the upcoming financial capital called Ahmedabad. So in less than 2 hours, you can travel almost 1000 kilometers, and people can return to Ahmedabad and vice versa from Mumbai to Ahmedabad on the same day. So this is going to create another alternative. Instead of taking flight, you just hop on to the train, and the train will travel to Mumbai. And suppose you get on the train at 6 a.m. By 8 a.m. you are in Mumbai. You can actually finish your business, finish your meetings, finish whatever work you have, and return on the same day. So that is going to create a totally new kind of traffic in India. And once this track, which is Ahmedabad Mumbai, is made successful, there is a need for similar bullet trains across India. For example, Bangalore, Chennai, Agra, New Delhi, Jaipur, New Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir. So there could be instances where people would like to use the train, travel at high speed, and come back on the same day. And there is no need for people to basically find hotels and all that. So this is going to be the thing, and now this is going to become a reality because the Indian government has finally managed to sort out all the land acquisition issues which were slowing down this project. So very soon, friends, this project is going to see the light of the day. And people who will be affected by this are primarily business people living in Mumbai and Ahmedabad, or also on the way, places like Surat, etc., who can hop onto these high speed trains and reach their destination at very, very high speed, upwards of 200 kilometers an hour. So this is something which is remarkable, and which is going to happen soon. So let's move on to the next item on our list today. And the next item is about the we know that America was dubbed as the land of opportunity. simply because when America was discovered by Columbus, or later on by the travelers from Europe, primarily from Ireland and other European countries like England, etc., they traveled and set up their first colonies in America. And since they were the first settlers, for them, almost 400 years back, they could do anything, and whatever they could not do here back in their own native countries, they could do in America, because there was no government to stop them, there were no kings, there were no monarchs, etc. So that time the America was called the land of opportunities, and lot of people migrated to the new lands or the Americas. And today, you know that because of this nature of the American culture, America has become a superpower. So now what is happening? There are, as the world order is changing, the business climate is changing. India is becoming the world fastest growing economy. The similar thing is happening for the American companies. Well, America has to find new markets, and their products will be used by people like the Indian people who are living in the nation of India, because Indian comprise of the world largest English speaking population. Almost a billion, or probably more than a billion people speak fluent English, and they can communicate with other English speaking world like Americas and other places. So truly, in true sense, the Indian population living in India is truly a global population. So they can communicate with maximum number of people, leaving behind the Chinese, French, and Spanish speaking people, and to some extent Portuguese. However, the Spanish people will also know English, Portuguese will also know English, Chinese will also know English. So English becomes a very important language for global trade, and most of the Indians speak English. So for American products, India is a very big market, because there is no communication problem. At the same time, Indian population is a consumer base. So if Americans have to sell their product, sell their technology, where they will go? They can't go to China. They have to find market in India. Therefore, for American companies, India is now becoming the land of opportunity in the in starting from 2020. And for next couple of decades, American companies will have to partner with Indian companies, or set up their Indian shops to look at this new opportunity, or look at the land of opportunity, which is opening up new markets for them. Otherwise, if they don't do that, then they have already reached the peak in their own home country, and they will saturate. So there are only two ways to basically stay afloat in business: either find new markets or diversify into something else. So I think finding new market is easy, while it is readily available in front of them. So India is going to become a land of opportunity for American companies, and also the British companies. So recently, India has already overtaken the UK economy slightly right now. So it is growing very rapidly. I think it makes sense for American companies to find partnerships and set up their own subsidiaries in India to look at this market. So therefore, India is going to become a land of opportunity for American companies. All right, let's move to the next item quickly. Well, next item is about the Apple. Apple is one of the leading brands. They produce, and most of the population across the world, almost 50% of the mobile users use Apple product, and remaining almost 48% use Samsung. So Apple is controlling the major market share when it comes to handsets. Most of their mobile sets were manufactured either in US or in China. And producing mobile phones in US is rather expensive. So their China factory was more profitable. For past few years, because of the tension between China and US, and certain regulations which are being imposed on the factories, and the recent outbreak of COVID has propelled Apple to shift their factory out of China into some other country, and India is now becoming a more viable place, or area for setting up factories for Apple mobile manufacturing. And you know that it is not one factory which they have in China, and to fulfill billions of handset requirement across the world, uh, they have multiple factories. So they are gradually shifting, and they have opened a couple of factories in India also. So I just want to tell you folks that the Indian Apple manufacturing setup in India is manufacturing Apple devices not only for Indians but also exporting. And in the year 2023, they have registered 2.5 billion exports happening of the Indian made Apple devices across the world. So this is export. That means Indian factory of Apple manufactured these devices, exported these devices out of India into other countries. So like we see our mobile phones, it's very clearly written on the Apple mobile phone that it is made in China. So on such mobile phone, which is comprising of almost 2.5 billion in revenue in exports, are made in India. It's a big deal. This number is going to grow further, and this is going to strengthen the India mobile story, as well as Apple also forces Apple to shift their factories quickly out of China into India. So this is something which is great, especially with the new ease of business policies of India. I think the Apple is fully utilizing and shifting their factories out of China. Samsung is already manufacturing a lot of mobile phones, and because of that, the Samsung mobile phones are a lot cheaper because they are manufactured locally. And Apple mobile phones are quite expensive in India because since they are imported, there is an import duty levied on them. So I think it's a matter of time that because of the local manufacturing, Apple mobile phones will also become cheaper, and they will start competing with Samsung in India when it comes to pricing. All right, let's move to the next item. Well, this is about the cola war. We know that there are two colas which keep fighting globally for their supremacy, which is Coca-Cola, and the Pepsi Cola. So these are both are American brands, and their story, or the fight, or the competition, whatever you want to call it, is legendary. Because of the competition, they actually create new business scenario. They have been able to do that in last 100 years, and their competitiveness is basically taught to students as examples, so that the management students can learn and get inspired by these stories. However, the third cola, which is a local cola for India called Campa Cola, very very popular, and they actually became very popular in the 70s and 80s, and this sort of replaced the Coke and Pepsi in India because it became so popular. There were other brands also, but today I'm talking about Campa Cola because there is something new happening with this particular brand. This is a local brand, and it became very popular. Then later, when the government changed in India, I don't know what happened, something political happened, and because of that, this company Campa Cola became bankrupt, and they went out of business slowly. By 90s, there were no Campa Cola being sold in India. However, I remember the taste of Campa Cola. It was amazing. It was awesome, and it was local. So now the Campa Cola is coming back. How it is coming back? The Reliance has set up a new company called Reliance Consumer Products Limited. That's a new company, and they are going to basically they are launching several consumer products, and they have also acquired the right of Campa Cola. In fact, they have acquired the entire setup of the erstwhile Campa Cola for 22 crores. And this company is now part of Reliance Consumer Products Limited, and they are relaunching Campa Cola starting very soon. And since Reliance has a huge distribution network, they have their grocery stores across India. uh, the Campa Cola will be readily available, distributed through their grocery stores. So it's a good news basically. And people of my age who have actually, when we were small kids, we actually cherished Campa Cola. So I think we can relive that era and wait for Campa Cola to come to the market. And I think this is going to start a new cola war in India, very locally, not global cola war, but a local cola war. Because right now, Coke and Pepsi, they almost control 50-50 market share in India. And when we talk about market share in India, it's a huge amount because of the country size, population, and the consumer base. So if Campa Cola comes, it is going to ignite a new cola war within India. So let's wait and watch what happens here. The cola war is always legendary because people find different ways and means to sell their products, new ways of making, for example, Pepsi will sell for the same price, double the, cola, things like that. So all of this is going to happen. There could be other brands, other associated products being sold along with Campa Cola. So let's see what Reliance sales strategy would be. It would be very interesting to see what happens next. And it would be interesting to monitor the new cola war, which is going to start in 2023 between Campa Cola, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi Cola in India. All right, let's move to the next item on our list. Well, Brazil is a large country. In terms of land mass, it is as big as United States, 3 times the land mass of India. So you can imagine it's a large country. And population-wise, it is as populous as United States. So that means it is a second populous country after US in the entire Americas. And they are a first world nation. And they have a lot of businesses association with other countries. So just give me a moment. And they are also big exporters. Lately, Brazil is not actually in the news for the right reason, but more for the wrong reasons. Recently, the ex prime minister lost the elections, and new dispensation government has taken over. But the previous government is refusing to believe that they have lost it, so they are fighting back, and their supporters actually created a riot. Yes, friends, they have created a riot. And you can imagine, some losing party says that, hey, I don't believe that I've lost the election, so I will actually create mayhem and riot. Now, how does it affect the business? Because Brazil is the major exporter also. When it comes to food products, almost 40% of the meat comes from Brazil for the world. So, because of this situation, instability in the government sector, and a lot of mayhem on the street, rioting, I think the whole environment get disturbed. So because of this, there could be, there is war going on already between US and Russia and Ukraine. Because of that, the African nations are finding it difficult to get hold of the wheat. Now, in top of that, if the Brazil start misbehaving, the government start misbehaving, then there could be chances that this riot can explode into a much bigger situation. And since Brazil is one of the major exporter when it comes to some of the food products, also they are the new member of OPEC. They are also producing aircrafts. So all of that will start hitting. So it will impact the global economy. And Brazil is a large country, as I said, and they are the first world country, although they are based in South America. So I think this is something very serious. We should consider this information quite serious, and let's hope that it settles down quickly. Otherwise, the situation we are getting into in 2023, we cannot live in isolation, because whatever happens in one corner of the world will affect the other corner. So if something happening in Brazil, being a large country, it will definitely impact some other areas across the world, and it will add into the recession which we are going to embark on very soon. So let's move on to the next item. Well, this is about the Davos World Economic Forum. This is something which happens every day, where the global leaders uh, visit Davos in Switzerland. As you can see, this is a picturesque town of Davos, and all the global leaders meet and discuss the global issues. Especially, this is the World Economic Forum, so all the issues related to economy, global economy, what we should do, whether we should fight with each other, whether we should collaborate, all of that is discussed at Davos. So this year, in the year 2023, Davos meeting is going to happen very soon. I think 16th of January, when this will commence, and all the world leader, all the major countries will be there, and they will discuss about how we can cooperate with each other and come up with solution, the business solutions with each other. Can we sign up some sort of agreements? Can we actually reduce taxation on each other, etc., etc.? So there could be thousand other issues they will be discussing, which are related to business only. This is not bilateral. These are all business related issues. So this year, the Davos agenda is how do we increase cooperation in the fragmented world. So this is a very operative word. Yeah, just look at it, fragmented world. The world is completely fragmented. They have recognized, because somewhere there is US China, some tensions are brewing. India China, something is going on. Pakistan India has been an old problem, chronic problem for last 70 years. Likewise, there are several other areas where there are disturbances, and there are issues among the countries, and because of that people get fragmented. And in the last year, the fragmentation has increased to unprecedented levels, because of the war and because of this confusion, and the currency war between US and China, all sort of things. So I think the Davos is one place where the world leader will get a chance to sit across the table and sort out issues and come up with something positive, so that we know that in 2023 the world is getting into a big recession. So we can actually take some corrective measures, increase production, increase sales, generate revenue, and help. These measures will help world to come out of the forthcoming recession. So therefore, this is something, a very important forum, where this is going to commence on January 16th, and agenda would be to discuss global business issues, and all the global leaders will be attending this. So let's hope something positive comes out of this meeting, and more agreements are brought around, so that business people can start doing business with each other. And also ease of payments, because I think that is also one of the big issues. Ease of payment sometimes stop global business among small players. Especially large companies has their own way, but the small players find it difficult to pay and receive payments for different services. All right, let's move to the next item. Well, yesterday I covered how one of the some of the large IT companies in India have eroded their base on the stock market, and huge drop in their prices, simply because they are not able to hold on to the contracts which are overseas in nature. The work is not coming into these companies, and also vice versa, because they are not able to hold their employees. Employees are now trying to get into moonlighting, etc. And because of this, so there is no business. There is a lot of localization which is now happening because of the conditions past few years. Therefore, when it comes to Indian techies, their dreamland, or the opportunity that they look for, is finding H1B visas in the US so that they can work for American companies and also immigrate to Americas and probably apply for some sort of a PR status in Americas and live there. This has been going on. India enjoys the biggest quota among all other countries, and a lot of techies basically go back and forth between India and US. For past maybe 1 year, I think this is becoming a issue where the H1B basically is a work permit for Indians. It has been rejected. So this time, almost many work permits have been rejected. Thousands of work permits for Indian citizens have been rejected. And why this is happening? The answer is very simple. The answer is to look for the domestic business right now rather than look for the overseas business. This is the answer for Indians. And also, Americans are rejecting H1B obviously because they are getting into a recession. American company will slip into recession, so they cannot have a burden of foreign nationals coming and becoming a burden for them. They have to basically give jobs to the local people first. So I think because of this, they are rejecting the H1B for overseas prospective employees. And I think this is something which we must keep track. And if we are, especially for Indians, if you are looking for H1Bs or aiming to immigrate to some other country, I think this is not the time to do that. This is a time to develop your own brand within your own domestic market. Start looking at domestic market much more closely and look at India, because India is a very big consumer market. When American companies are coming here, why can't you actually set up your own shop and provide better, faster service? So I think this is a good example where such a thing is happening, and we must stop looking at the overseas employment because the time has come for Indians to work first, create their own brand locally within India, and then start looking at global market rather than working for a global company. And these are all very, very small increments that you may expect even if you go to US. So I think the market itself is correcting itself, where the Americans have decided to not to give new H1Bs to Indians, and I think it's a wake-up call for Indian techies. All right, let's move to the next item. And this is from the world of science. We know that in order to grow the human civilization further into other planets and set up our own permanent bases in on the surface of Moon or Mars, or probably cloud cities in Venus, we would need a lot of resources. We would need lot of computers, lot of very powerful computers, maybe robots to carry out dirty work, heavy lifting for us. And in order to create these all these kind of stuff, we need elements which are not found on Earth. However, these elements or these metals are found elsewhere on asteroid, which we can actually mine. And that is why these elements which are used in creating different kinds of chips are called rare earth element, and they are found in scarcity. Today, rare earth elements business is controlled by few countries or few business people who actually closely control that and closely guard it. So if these rare earth element are not available in huge quantity, the dream of settling down or building your colonies on Mars, as Elon Musk dream, or mankind has to get into other areas, set up the permanent bases on Moon, Mars, Venus, etc., and then grow from there. So we need to do mining on these asteroids which are floating around. And mining on these asteroids is rather easy because you can send and these are all nearby, so you don't have to send your probes far off towards Jupiter. They are very close. Most of the asteroids are between Mars orbit and Jupiter's orbit. So what you need to do is basically send these mining probes. You can design them here. It's very easy to do that. The challenging part is, how do you get this material back on Earth? So there are various methods. One of the method is use the age-old chemical rockets. The problem with chemical rockets are that you need to carry, first of all, when you send your rocket from Earth, it will be very heavy because you have to basically fill in the fuel for return journey. And that is where the problem is, because chemical rockets will get very bulky, very heavy. The next method is a new method called solar sails. So the sails are erected, and once the sails are inflated, they start getting enough push from the sun radiation, they can speed up quickly, rather fast. So I think the whole method, the entire project is basically sending your robots for mining and getting various material from these asteroids. And since these asteroids have very low gravity, mining will not be very difficult. Landing on these asteroids is not difficult. Taking off is also not difficult. The problem is basically bringing the material back on Earth and making it safe, landing it back on Earth. Probably we will have to basically set up factories up in space so that these elements can be refined up in space and sent to moon directly rather than bringing it back to Earth. So I think this is a logistic issue. Important thing is what technology we must use, which is cheaper. Is it the chemical rocket or the solar sail? Logic says that solar sail may be better uh, because it does not consume anything. You don't have to carry anything along with you, but the solar sails are very fragile, requires different material. It has to be very lightweight, and it should not get affected by these micro meteoroids, because if the solar sail is punctured, then it will not be able to create a lot of propulsion for the spacecraft. So these are the things which are stopping us to send mining probes into space. However, there is another issue with mining in space, that is, there is a outer space treaty among all nations which prevents any nation to basically consume the outer space for anything, any commercial reasons. Right now, outer space is open only for scientific research. So I think that is where we are, and because we do not have lot of rare earth elements or a lot of material which is lying out there which we can use, until unless we fix our legal framework and also decide what strategy we will be using to get these stuff which is mined on these asteroids. Until that time, our space dream will space colonies will remain a dream. The dream will not fructify into reality. So this is something which I wanted to talk about today. Friends, thanks for joining me live, and I will meet you again in Business and Science Show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Until then, please let me know if you have any question, and send your comments. I will talk about your comments tomorrow. Take care and have a nice evening. Bye bye.